Thank you. I hope you've had a great morning, and we're in for a treat here with Robert speaking. On behalf of First United Bank, we are so thrilled to be able to partner in this event, be the title sponsor, really because we love doing community banking with our friends, our family, our neighbors. We love banking with customers that we see in the schools, in our churches, in our communities. Big and small, we love, that's what community banking is, and we're committed to that. That's why we have over 20 First United teammates here today to support you in whatever that looks like in your next step. So our keynote speaker today is a graduate of Austin College and St. Louis University School of Law, but upon completion of his law degree, he realized his passion was not in law, but rather in whiskey. Robert Likarish, along with his brother, spent 2 years training around the world in the fine art of distilling before they finally settled in opening a world-class distillery right here in Denison, Texas. Robert is currently a member of the Texas Whiskey Association's Board of Directors and sings praises of Texas whiskey wherever he goes. Robert spends his spare time playing the Nintendo Switch. Please talk about that. I've done a lot of introductions in my day of very highly successful professionals. The Nintendo Switch never made the list. So please include that in your remarks. He also loves to cook and hanging out with his amazing wife, Kylie. So hopefully all of you today have a takeaway from what you've heard today. But if not, there is one that you just heard. There is an attorney that you've worked with in your past that needs to hear the message, give up attorney, choose whiskey. Please help me welcome Robert Likarish.
How's it going, everybody? Woo, that is loud. All right, I'll hold it down here. That'll work a little better. As Jared mentioned, my name's Robert Likarish. I'm one of the owners and founders of Ironroot Republic Distillery here in Denison, Texas. We're a small family distillery. It was founded by myself, my brother, and my mom. Obviously, mom's the big boss at the distillery, so if she tries to tell you she's not, she's lying to you. She's the one who dictates everything that goes on. It's been a wild ride over the last, 11 years for us at Ironroot. And for us, I think our kind of story, our journey to starting a business is a lot like, I think, probably most people here in this room. It's a winding road that gets you to do something as crazy as starting your own business. For us, it actually started out, I remember in my early childhood, my parents, surprisingly, were not big drinkers. That may surprise people in this room. In fact, I only ever remember them having alcohol. They'd have wine at Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving dinner, and that was really the only time I ever saw alcohol at the house growing up. So I was really surprised when I came home from my first summer away from college. And my parents, they were going through a bunch of my grandparents' things that they were cleaning up and putting away. And my dad actually had found a diary from my great-grandfather, which was really cool for us because he actually passed away even before my father was born. And this diary was written half in Croatian, half in English, so we couldn't translate it at all. But there was one thing that was in just straight-up English, and it was actually a recipe for making beer, of all things. So my dad thought that maybe that would be a fun little summer project that we would do, that my brother, myself, my mom, and him would take that recipe and actually make some beer out of it. So we took it to the homebrew store. That homebrew store, they looked at the list of ingredients and like, most of this hasn't been made since 1920. So, so we did the best we could to replicate the recipe, and we got home. That entire afternoon, we brewed it, we put it away, we got it in fermenting, and a week later, we were there getting ready to bottle it, putting it away, and I remember we messed up a bunch, but at the very end of that summer, we finally had some beer that we could actually drink, and I remember sitting around, opening up that beer, and it was just such a joyous time that we did something together as a family. Especially with Jonathan and I being away at college, it was one of those really special moments for us. And my dad, at that moment, kind of had the idea. He's like, you know what? this was so much fun. I think when you guys retire, this is what you should do. You should start a little brewery or maybe like a little winery. That would be fun. My brother and I were like, yeah, that sounds great. That'd be really cool. So, didn't think too much of it at that point. So the next year I came home from college again, and I get home, and my mom and dad are like, hey, we're going to a wine tasting tonight. I was like, a wine tasting? What in the world is going on here? So I had no idea that since that time they'd gotten into drinking a little bit of wine. They'd been traveling a little bit more since they were empty nesters. My mom apparently had fallen in love with Belgian beer. Color me surprised on that one. And so we went to this wine tasting. They were in there tasting the wines, and I knew nothing about wine. But I was hearing them talk, saw how excited they were learning about all these different types of wines and grapes from around the world. And I remember the guy that was the head of that wine tasting actually took my dad and myself aside. We went back to his office, and he opened up this little bottle of cognac. And I thought this was the coolest thing ever that I'd never really experienced anything of that. Obviously at Austin College, we were good and studious students and did not even look at alcohol at all until we were 21 years of age. But I had never had high quality cognac before, and it was something that just kind of blew my mind. So that was the next kind of step on that journey. The next summer, I came home, and lo and behold, my dad had actually planted grapes in the backyard. And I was like, what is going on here? And he was like, you know what? I keep thinking about you guys starting this winery when you retire, and I wanted to go ahead and start growing grapes. And I was like, Dad, I am 22 years old right now. I don't know if that's going to, we're about 40 years ahead of time at the moment. So, and that's where later that summer we went to a family reunion up in Spokane, Washington. And at this reunion, we had wandered into a Thai food restaurant, this little shopping center there. We ate lunch. As we were walking out, we were looking at the shopping center, and lo and behold, there was this little distillery that had just opened their doors in that same shopping center. It was called Dry Fly Distilling. And so my dad was like, you know what, let's go in there and check it out. So we walked in, and for those of you who have not been to a distillery before, distilleries have these big, beautiful stills that are generally, they're gonna be made of copper. And there's something about the warmth of copper that just has always spoken to me, my brother, my dad, my mom. I always joked that copper was actually in my dad and mom's blood. That's because they grew up in Butte, Montana, a small mining town up there, so they probably actually did have copper in their blood. But I digress. But we had fell in love with just the look of these stills and the passion that the producers had there. And I remember as we were getting ready to walk out that door with a little bottle of whiskey that they had made, my dad turned to my brother and I and goes, no, this is actually what you guys should do when you retire. I was like, yeah, this does sound amazing. So didn't think about it. I was off at law school a few years later, and had continued to explore spirits and had a lot of fun just testing out different whiskeys and wines and beer with my parents and my brother. And I was getting ready to graduate from law school. It was actually the Christmas before. And I had come to the very hard decision that, after clerking at a law firm for 3 years, that, maybe being a lawyer wasn't really for me. So I decided to inform my parents of this at Christmas dinner because that's the time of least resistance. I don't think anyone can get too mad at you at the Christmas dinner table. So I decided to tell her that, I'm going to graduate in May, but when I graduate, I am not going to practice law. And I just remember dead silence at the dinner table. My mom takes this big, giant kind of gulp of wine. Her eyes are really big. And my dad, being the one that likes to break the silence and break the tension, joked and quipped. He's like, well, what are you going to do then? You're going to go start that distillery? And I had no idea what I was going to do at the time. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I think that's exactly what I should do. I'm young, I'm dumb right now, I don't have any kids, I don't have a wife, I can eat ramen noodles every night if I need to. If I'm going to do something as silly as start a business, start a distillery, why not do it now? So, yeah, thanks. Yeah. My mom did not have that same reaction, unfortunately. So, I think the funniest thing my mom said at that dinner that night was like, well, Robert, I know you know how to drink whiskey, but I'm pretty sure you don't know how to make it. So that last semester of law school, I spent studying, getting my hands on every book I could about making spirits. And fortunately, I did pass my final law exams despite focusing more on whiskey than on law at that time. But as soon as I graduated, my mom and we headed off to Kentucky. She was like, you know what, I want to see if this is what you're doing. I want to see what this is all about. So we went to go tour distilleries out in Kentucky, and that was a really amazing trip. I realized very quickly that I had a way longer route to go than I thought. There was way more to know than I ever knew. And so rather than jumping and starting a distillery right away, I figured, you know what, we may need to go and actually work at distilleries and intern at distilleries and really get hands-on experience at these things. So the next few years of my life with my brother, we actually went and took classes at different distilleries. We interned, but ultimately we fell in with a master cognac distiller who had actually moved out to California in the 70s. His name was Hubert Germain Robin, and he was a 10th generation cognac distiller. He was also a little bit of a rogue because he ended up in California because he had decided he wanted to distill grapes other than what he was allowed to in cognac. So he picked up everything, sold his family land, and moved out there. But our time with Hubert was really, really important. One, you had this generational experience of making spirits. And the French, their approach to making spirits is very different than the ways that you make bourbon traditionally here in the US. So a lot of what we were learning was really new to us. It was very focused, very intentional with every single step of the process, and being really integrated with each step of the process. And so my brother and I just kind of fell head over heels for that style of distillation. But finally, after spending time with Hubert, we decided that, it's time to kind of jump that baby bird to jump out of that nest. And so we decided to start looking for our own place to start a distillery. The one promise we had made when we were starting was to my brother's wife, was that when we did start the distillery, that we would do it back in Texas, because we had grown up here. And so we started looking all over Texas for a city to kind of put the distillery in. We went to many small towns, talked to a lot of people, but I'm sure some of you guys remember that if you go back about 10, 15 years ago, there were a lot of dry towns in the state of Texas. There weren't a lot of places that when we walked in, we're like, hey, we want to make whiskey, we want to make brandy, that opened up their arms and said, yeah, where can you do it? Most of them were like, you know what? You could go do that somewhere else. It's not somewhere that we want to be involved with. And so we kind of got dejected a little bit with kind of some of the rejections that we had. But fortunately, one night, one of my professors from Austin College, her name was Marilyn Bice, called me up and said, hey, I hear you're looking at towns. I really think you need to go back and talk to the city of Denison. Denison has this really amazing wine history that I don't even know if you're aware of. How many of you guys are aware that Denison is actually sister cities with cognac? Yeah, most of the people remember. All right, good. I don't have to dive into that story. So for those of you guys who don't know, though, there was a gentleman who lived here in town in the late 1800s. His name was T.V. Munson, who his research actually helped save the entire French wine industry. The reason why Bordeaux and Burgundy and Champagne and Cognac all exist to this day is because of this research that T.V. Munson did and grapefruits from here in Texas. So when we heard the story, especially having this cognac training that we did, we're like, that is perfect. That fits exactly with what we're wanting to do. So we came up to Denison. We started kind of looking around for different buildings, and our realtor actually took us over to the economic development here in town. And so I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with Mr. Tony Kai. And he actually sat us down. We started talking about what we were wanting to do, and it was the first time that I heard, we would love to have you here. Where can we put you? And I was kind of honestly taken aback by that. It was a city that really embraced what we were looking at doing, looking at trying to make something that's a tourist attraction, trying to make something that's really world class. And the city of Denison really jumped in and supported us from the very beginning, which it has become so important to us on so many levels. I mean, even once we had decided on a place, we found a building for us to buy, and so we had started to put together our packets for getting funding to be able to buy everything. And we decided to go the route of working with the SBA, so the SBA loans. And the SBA loans can take a while to put together, so we had some time between when we had started that application to actually try to find a bank partner. And so my brother and I, we actually ended up putting together a really wonderful, at least what I thought was a wonderful presentation, and we presented to over 35 different banks here in the North Texas area. Most of them said absolutely not. You guys, your business plan is terrible, because I don't know if you guys know, the business plan for making whiskey is, hey, we want to make something and then not sell it for at least 4 years. Yeah, not a really great business plan. So we met with many banks, and ultimately, though, our partner that we found was, it's now First United Banking here in town. They were, what was the original name? American Bank of Texas. Thank you very much. And, we sat down, we met with Robert Crawley, and he was one of the first people that really understood what we were wanting to do and really believed in our ability to do it. And I can't tell you how much that means when you're starting something, to have someone believe in you, that can, that you can overcome all the obstacles that are in your way, because as all of you guys know, starting a business, there are a million obstacles. There's a million reasons to say no. And Robert Crawley and First United, they were willing to say yes and to believe in us. So for us, that was, we were off to the races from there. We had finished up getting our SBA loan, which was really fortunate for us that we had a few serendipity things here. One, a car accidentally ran into the fencing of the building, which delayed the sale just long enough for us to get the loan. I think we snuck it in just under the deadline of about 2 days to get everything put together, to have our building and to start making the distillery. As you guys know, just getting a building is just the very first start of what you're doing. You feel like you've accomplished so much, but then you have all the construction, you have all the design work that's to be done, and that always takes 3 times longer and costs 3 times what you expect it to do. But it's when you finally get to that grand opening day, it makes it all really worth it. For us, I still remember we had over 750 people here from the local community come and support us at our opening party. It was hectic and crazy, and it's one of those things that really started to change the way I thought about business. For me, for so long, we'd focused just on the part of making whiskey. What is the art of making whiskey or making spirits? I hadn't really thought about the marketing and the sales aspect of it, or how do you really build a brand and build a business. And it was that day that I realized very quickly that the only way that we can do these things is by building community and being part of a community. For us, our early years, we survived off of volunteer help. Ashley over here was one of those really wonderful volunteers that helped us out. But we've achieved so much because of the community that we're in and the belief that this community had in us. We're now, we've won Best Bourbon in the World back in 2020. We have won Best Corn Whiskey like 7 times. We have Best American Rye Whiskey that we've got. We've been Craft Distillery of the Year in the world twice now. My mom has been named American Distillery Manager of the Year. So yeah, she's really cool and way up there on that. And just even yesterday, we discovered that our newest whiskey actually is in the final 5 for the best rye whiskey from the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. So it's been an amazing ride on that. We're distributed now in over 30 states in 8 countries. I never would have believed that ever in my life. We have about 15 employees at the distillery currently, which is going from just your brother and your mother, staying up late at night working together, to having an entire team of people with you. it's been a wild ride to the kind of the success that we've had. But success, it's not really a place that you exist at. It's something that as business owners, we actually strive to achieve every single day, because even if you have success one day, 2 weeks later, you could be right back in trouble. And so it's something that we fight and we claw for every day, which is why so many people in this room, I can see the tired faces on everyone in the room. It's because choosing to be an entrepreneur, choosing to have your own business, running your own business, is a tough, tough life. It takes every bit of everything that you have and can make you a little crazy some days or a lot of days. But when we're trying to overcome that, what makes it all worth it, again, came back to that notion of building community and support. I mean, early on, you look for us, what we strove for and what we looked for was, let's look at what is the city, what is our city, what is our local community, what is the state, what is the national kind of support that we can find. Because I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of times, we forget that it's important for us to ask for help and to ask for support. I mean, I remember early on, the SBDC here was actually really integral for us. We entered something they called the Rural Challenge, which was supporting rural and small community businesses, and we ended up winning that award there and getting a very nice check from the state for that. We also ended up winning the Governor's Small Business Award in 2016, and that kind of leapfrogged us into being able to kind of do more. And I realized that, I need to go talk to the city. What incentives does the city have? They help businesses like ours with signage. You look at the Go Texan program here in the state of Texas. If you guys are not participating in that and you're eligible, I highly encourage you to do so. The marketing they can help you with, the resources they can help you with are extraordinarily important. So if you guys leave here today, remember, your community is here to support you, and your community is your city, your state, and they will help. I've had some really wonderful experiences. The agricultural department here actually sent me over to Italy with some of our barbecue, some of the big barbecue places here in Texas as a cultural exchange, and that's part of what helped us expand to international sales. It's really important for you guys, whether you're just a small business, a mom and pop shop, to engage with your city, to engage with your community, to build those fans, because the people that are going to keep you going every day are the people in this room. They're the people in your local communities, in your churches. Make sure you lean on people, because it can be a very lonely thing to be a business owner, and we too often forget. So if you guys go out in your communities, donate to charities, meet people at Rotary, Knights of Columbus, whatever other groups you may have, maybe even online groups. I encourage you to go and find people that care about your business and embrace them and build that community around you, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. So thank you guys very much for allowing me to talk and sharing my success with you guys. Bye.
Robert, thank you very much. Love hearing about whiskey, and especially when it goes with barbecue. Another big hand for Robert Likarish, please.